your dog is having trouble staying in place, but you know that they know place, you've already trained them, or they've been trained, and maybe they've been home for a while and things got busy, or your dog just seems to be slipping a little bit, it's not enough to just put your dog in place. You need to still practice place to keep the command sharp at least a couple times a month, 10 to 15 minutes of indoor work, practicing one place bed or several, and walking through the house. That has to be maintained once or twice a month for 15 minutes with what I would consider to be an easier dog. But let's say you need a tune-up and the dog needs to re-understand what place is because they're wandering or they keep following you around. So normally when we teach place, it is always on slip leash or prong collar. She's already trained though. And I'm going to try it out on e-collar and flat collar and see how she does. First is just going to be a little warm up, about 5 times. Let's go. A little bit of a pause. If she'll let me. This is after an hour walk, people. Let's go. So she's not in trouble. I'm just doing a little bit of pressure. I don't even use e-collar usually for this. I just hold pressure back. I don't say much unless I have to just have the dog patiently wait with me. Place. Good. Because you can see place isn't the issue. It's staying in place that's the issue. But I don't want her to just see place as somewhere she has to stay. So we need to work it a bit, just normal. Hey, sit down. So that time I did tap e-collar. I'm only at a 7. We've done this a few times and she's just being a little bit too silly. So I'm just asking her to calm down a little bit with my 7. Now, you do that 4, 5, 10 times, just a little bit of a warm up. You want to go nice and slow on this exercise. Once you reestablish boundaries with place, which is what I'm going to show you, you can have fun and do recalls and work really quickly. Just make sure you're always ending calmer and slower, even if it's for only 60 seconds to 2 minutes. It really helps the dog calm down a little bit before you expect them to stay in place or crate calmly. I like to go slow when the dog is really excited to help them work on their impulse control. Then once they're very calm and kind of bored, speed them up, have some fun for a few minutes, and then slow them back down before I stick them here for a few hours. So now we're going to do the setup. So I'm going to stay right with her. And instead of stopping when she stops, I'm going to continue walking. For her, I'm going to scroll up to a 15. Hopefully that will have a little bit of impact when she steps off, because she's going to go in autopilot. After practicing with her for 5, 10 repetitions, she's probably going to go into autopilot and walk right off with me. Let's go. Place. Oh, you stinker. You think you're so good. Place. Oh, you stinker. You think you're so good. Let's go. I'm going to speed up a bit. Place. 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 Now, I may not get much of an opportunity because she's doing good. I may not get much of an opportunity to kind of set her up. So she kind of thought twice right there and then decided to put her paw, even though she was in a down, she decided to scoot her paw way out. That's what I said, repeated place, and tapped at a 15 to basically take what I can get because she's doing really good right now. Let's go. Place. Good. Good girl. Good job. Let's go. Place. Good girl. Good job. Good girl. It's really important to reestablish that boundary. So I very specifically don't walk off the end and face the dog because they know what I'm doing and they will stay in place. So if you want to get your dog into autopilot where you think they might make a mistake and they're not paying attention anymore, they're not paying attention to the words, they're just following you around, you do that figure 8 over, because that's what it is, a figure 8 over and over and over again. And then you just keep walking and see if they follow you. And if they do, it's no, tap, back up and reset them. If you even need to do that. If the dog's already trained, a lot of times you tap and they just pop back to place. Next thing we're gonna try, that's good. The walk off is good. She understands her boundary. I'm gonna go down to a 10. I'm just gonna try a few things. Good girl, good job. Oh, who's good? Who's good? No? So that was a 10. So I'm using excitement as a distraction. I never called her to me, never even said her name, right? And that was only a 10, so it's not a super high level. But did you see my body language change? They need to see that change in you from loose and silly to clear and concise. This is not okay, all right? Who's a good girl? Who's your good girl? Are you good? Oh, thank you, thank you. Oh, thank you, thank you. Oh, thank you, thank you. She can get up, I don't care about that. This is just about the boundary of place. Oh, yes. Good, you're so good. Place. Well, we know what your weakness is. So I'm really low on the dial. I tried to just tap at a 10. I think I held down for a second because she ignored it. I went up a few levels and then said place. So that's what you saw. She got all silly. She thinks it's fun to slip around on this floor. She got all silly. I was at a 10. I actually held it down, I think, for a second. I was hoping she'd reset herself just with that lower stem. Didn't work, so I said place. I went to a 15. So we're gonna do that again. And I'm gonna be at a 20. I really want her to be successful, so I might be a bit lower key about it. Good girl. I don't wanna keep doing the same thing over and over, and the dog keeps screwing up. Oh, yes, you're good. Good, yes, yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Yeah. So I'm gonna move my hand a little slower. Good job. Good, and walk away. Good. Good girl. Good job. Down. You're so good. You are. Good girl. Poodles are so silly. Poodles are so silly. Oh yes. Oh yes. No. 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 Okay. She works pretty high. I was trying to use lower levels, but she works very high. That was a 30. So let's say that this happens with you at home. If you do anything too exciting, the dog just cannot control themselves. So seeing her, we've done resets with her so she can stay in place with other dogs out, but we haven't done any distraction work with her. And so this tells me she really needs some distraction work at home. It's not enough to just go through the routine. You need to play around with challenging your dog. That could be having the kids run through the house, having one of the spouses go to the front door and knock and then enter into a room. It's not unfair. It's called proofing. A dog should be able to stay in place when someone goes, "What a good girl! Oh, how sweet! Good job!" And the dog not bolt up, okay? Unless they hear, "Callie, come here." "Yeah, good girl. Good job. Yeah. Place." Good. So if you have a dog that's struggling with anxiety, following you around, or just very unsettled in place, it's not enough to just be sitting down somewhere and when they get up, say no, tap and reset them. You need to practice this, not a ton, but a little bit, a few times a month to keep these commands sharp. Okay, so here's the big thing. She's struggling. We did 4 or 5 bouts of excitement in a row, and she wasn't great at it. She needs a bigger correction, but I'm actually not going to do that. I think she's expecting that. Instead, I'm going to work her for about 5 minutes calmly and normally and not challenge her, then challenge her again. You do not want to layer on challenge, 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 small correction. You're unsuccessful and not deviate. Okay, so I want to mix it up for her, otherwise it could stress her out. If I keep challenging her and she keeps kind of getting in trouble, and by kind of getting in trouble, I mean my levels have been too low, they haven't been clear, or I've just been expecting too much of her right now, and we need to work up to that much excitement. I don't know, we'll find out. So I'm going to work her for about 5 minutes and then come back. Yeah. No, place. That was a 35. Good girl. Good job. Break. Yeah. Good job. Good. Place. I know. Down. Good girl. So, most of the time you're working on impulse control. No. And then occasionally, or I shouldn't say occasionally, but when the dog is solid on understanding she can't get it without permission, then you give them permission. Again, it goes back to, this is when you can get up, this is when you can't. It's by my permission only. And so you got to find ways to challenge your dog on that kind of stuff. Even if they're not very toy driven, you could just surprise them and toss something and they'll want to get up and go check it out. No, tap, place. You don't get to get up without permission. And so even if your dog's not that toy driven, you can play around with this. You can do food as well. You could walk over, give your dog a treat, and then walk 5 to 10 feet away, drop the food on the ground and walk away and see if they get up. So these are some things you can do to challenge them besides like using kids and spouses, like I mentioned before. If they're able to get up and leave place even 3-4 times, it's very self-serving to the brain, to the system. It gives them like a lot of self-serving type of hormones, just as if they were to jump up on a countertop and find food. Even if you correct them, they got to where they were going. Or the food thing is kind of a bigger example. Even if they just got up and came to you, maybe you came out of the bathroom and you opened the door and they're right there, you can correct them, but it doesn't matter. That part of the brain got rewarded for getting up and coming to you because that's what they wanted. So my point is, a lot of this is prevention based. So you have to back time. My point is just that she can't get all the way to what she wants. She can only get so far. And that is really important for you to be able to come back into the picture and reset them without them getting all the way to you or to whatever it is that they're wanting to get to. Let's see, what else? The other thing that I'll just mention really quick is to actually practice out of sight stays. So if you do need to use the restroom, you take this with you. That way you can kind of peek around the corner, and if she got up, address that before you actually go into the restroom, and then when you come back out, of course. The other thing I would say is her silliness. If I'm sitting here and she continues to stare at me, say I've been here for about 3 to 5 minutes not looking at her, that's important. Stop looking at your dogs in place so much unless they need a no. And if she keeps staring at me, watching my every move, waiting to do something fun, I'm at a 5. See, that was just a 5. And I'm just asking her to chill out a little bit and stop creepy focusing on me. Normally I wouldn't do this right away. It's only if I've been stationary for about 3 to 5 minutes and the dog is still staring at me. There's a neediness there that you need to address. You're not making it clear that you don't need the dog right now. And so they're still in follower mode mentally, which is not a good place to be. She's still looking at me, so I'm just gonna do the same thing again. Nice. That was a 4. I went down a little bit. I know she's still looking at me, but do you see how I'm kind of chipping away at it? So now if I get up and go use the restroom and she gets up and follows me and I'm like, no, all these things add up and help with the clarity to help the dog's brain actually calm down.